Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of CR Exposed here on my YouTube channel. Today is a very special day, as this may be the first time you and I are talking, well, face to camera. I've decided to remove the goblin. I am still the goblin, your ever faithful goblin GM, but no longer am I using the React goblin icon. But, you know, I still have the chaotic goblin tendencies in me, so don't let that fool you. In any event, let's go ahead and take a look at the Fire Elemental as to why we are here today. What we're looking at here is the Fire Elemental from the Monster Manual, the 2025 edition, and we're just going to go right from the top down and start, looking at this stat block off to my left. So first thing we do, we're going to go ahead and take that 13 AC here and drop it into the tool. From there, we're going to then include the large frame for our elemental, because this will change the hit dice from a d8 to a d10. We have 11 d10 hit dice that we have to incorporate there. From that, we will then switch over to the stats and throw in the 10 strength, which we already have, 17 dexterity, 16 constitution, 6 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 7 charisma. After that, I always like to make sure to put in the CR for our monster here. So for this instance, it's a CR 5 for the Fire Elemental. Moving on, we have a couple resistances, which is very unusual for the Monster Manual 25 edition. D&D has basically gotten rid of that because what it does is it kind of like bloats the hit points for any monster that has non-magical resistance. In this case, our Fire Elemental is resistant to all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. And since that's 3 items, this will trigger the resistances. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in, which gives our Fire Elemental more hit points. And this is what I'm talking about with the bloat. So if we look here, we go back to none, we have a defensive CR of 2 and around 93 effective hit points, but when we throw in resistances, it bumps it up to an effective defensive CR of 5 with 139 hit points, because we're getting an additional 50% more hit points, or 46 as you can see here in the tool, which is behind my head and you can't see it. Yes, so you can see here that the tool is showing that because of the CR for the monster, it's 1.5 times the hit points. We're getting an extra 46 hit points, and that's why we're seeing 139 now, and the quick jump up. Beyond that, we have immunities to fire and poison, but that's only 2, and we need 3, just like we had for resistances. So we are actually going to ignore the immunities here. So from there, we move on. We don't care about the conditions. That doesn't affect our monster one way or the other. And we move on down to the traits. What are we looking at for our traits? We have a fire aura, and the fire aura, we are going to go ahead and use the heated body. Like the Azure monster, we can use the heated body here, so we'll go ahead and click that checkbox. We are dealing 5.5 points of damage here because our dice are an odd number of dice. We always have to add in that half number when we are calculating for monster stats, not for at the table, only when you're calculating the CR. So for this instance, I'm just going to round that down to 5. Creatures and flammable objects in the emanation start burning. If one of our characters, if a player is standing next to our Fire Elemental, they're going to start burning. And we are going to add in that 1d4 of damage, which in theory we'll probably see 2 rounds worth of damage for that. So we're going to go ahead and add that into our extra damage here. So we'll say, just for the sake of it, 3 points of damage for the 3 rounds of combat, considering that we're only getting 2 out of the 3 rounds of combat. From there, we can skip over Fire Form, because basically this just lets the Fire Elemental move through places, and if a creature stops in them, they take extra fire damage. In theory, players are not going to willingly stop inside of a Fire Elemental or move through them, unless the Fire Elemental is blocking a hallway, which could be a fun use of this monster for how to play, being a blocker. We are going to look at that. We're going to skip over that Fire Form and move on to Illumination, which, again, this is a non-combat item. We don't really worry about Illumination, and we can just kind of skip right past that one. After that, we do have Water Susceptibility. We're not going to count this because we're looking at the proficiency of the Fire Elemental in combat. So obviously, if a player uses some kind of a water attack or douses them with a gallon's worth of water, which I think most spells don't actually actively attack with gallons of water except for a couple items. This is actually just kind of skipped over. The water susceptibility isn't really going to take into effect, and we wouldn't worry about that for immunities. And again, if we were to check the vulnerabilities, excuse me, not immunities, the vulnerabilities, we would need at least 3 as well to trigger that. So we can skip right past water susceptibility, and that's the end of our traits. Lastly, we have the multi-attack actions here. We have burn, 2 burns, and that's it. So that's all our fire elemental is going to do, is just burn. They're not going to consume or absorb or do anything else, like try to drown or roast your players alive. They're just going to burn. That's it. Simple. And with that, we're going to go ahead and start working out the dice. Even though I know D&D stat blocks are very good about this, we're just going to put this in case we need to fix things. And with that, we have, it looks like they're using dexterity. Okay. 2d6 plus dexterity gives us a total of 10, which we see here. Plus the target also gets the burning feature. So again, we have that burning item set up here. Creature can only be burning once, and that's it. They're constantly setting creatures on fire. Actually, because of that, we can probably just go ahead and say, instead of 3 total DPS, we're just going to do the average of 2 here, because every round of combat, we're going to be burning something, whether they're within range of us or if they're being hit by the burn attack. So we're just going to leave that at that. And we will go ahead and grab I mean, this is an extra step. You don't have to do this. I just like to bring the dice down into the attack in case there's other items that go along with that said attack for attack number 1. Then, since we have a multi-attack, we're going to go ahead and time this by 2. And then I just throw everything into concentration if they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay. Before I calculate the final results here of damage, I realized I forgot one important thing. Putting in the attack bonus. I always got to check that attack bonus. We are still at a CR4 by adding in the proper attack bonus. Now we can do one of a couple different things here. Since our fire elemental doesn't rely on its dexterity for its AC, we could increase the dexterity bonus. We could, instead of it being a 17, we could say a 20. And at a 20, that will increase it to +8 for its attack bonus. And now we're a little better, but we're still not quite there. So let's get rid of those 2 changes. I usually don't like to mess with the stats, and I prefer to mess with the dice. The dice are much easier to remember. So now that we have the attack bonus in, let's go ahead and jump this up to a D10. That's a little better. Again, I'd like to see this not as a CR 4.5 technically, because I like my tool to round up. Let's go ahead and change this to a D12. That's much better. Okay, this is where I want to see the monster. I want to see it balanced properly. In this case, now our fire elemental is more of a striker than it is a tank, where we initially found it with the CR4. So what are we looking at here? With the ranges here, and why I say the playstyle now is a striker, because we are properly at a CR5. Our damage here is evenly across the board at an offensive CR6. We have an average of 39 points of damage, which is on the low end, unfortunately. We probably could increase the damage to the body and the emanations from there. The burning. Let's say if we increase the burning, we're not going to really mess with that. So we could increase the burning to 2d4, and we are now at 42 damage, and that's better. That's more what I like to see here. So those are the quick fixes. Let's get to that in a second again. Our fire elemental offensive CR is a 6, higher than its average of a 5 for the CR5. And our defenses, while they have more hit points, they have lower defenses. So the defensive CR, because the effective AC is only a 13, and it's expecting a 15, we're 2 under. That reduces it by 1 total, and we drop down to a 4. So we have a striker fire elemental, which is what I would like to see. And now we have a properly balanced monster. Want to see even more? Join the community on Patreon or YouTube memberships and get early access to my videos, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and a say in what monsters I review next. Click the link in the description to get started.